Hey, good morning, Valuable Coaching. Welcome back. Today, we continue our interview with Coach Richard Gary from Vassar. Today, he tells us a little bit more about what separates Vassar from some of the other East Coast schools. And it's awesome. He talks about some of their facilities. And then tomorrow, we get a lot more into coaching, his coaching style. So today, you can find out a little bit more about a really cool college. It's on the East Coast. And then tomorrow, we'll get more into his coaching style. So let's head it on into the interview.
Yeah, that's great stuff. One thing that I'm curious about, you mentioned that you get a lot of California kids. There's no doubt in my mind in the last, I would say 10 to 15 years where kids are willing to go to the Midwest now from California. Kids are willing to go to the East Coast. When I played, it was all about go to UCI, go to UCLA, go to Stanford. And I get it. I think those programs in the Midwest are not only catching up, they're arguably better than some of our West Coast programs. Same thing that you're doing with on the East Coast. But, from what I can gather from these kids when they're like sophomores and I talk to them, sometimes they honestly really don't know that much of a difference between the NYU, Springfield, Vassar, Princeton, and Harvard, other than the fact that they're at different schools, maybe different NCAA levels. But what do you think kind of separates you from maybe those schools I just named or schools like that are around you? Because we're 3,000 miles away, and right now you can't do recruiting visits due to COVID, and what is something for our viewers, that you can speak this what Vassar has to offer?
The most important, challenge right now, and the thing that I'm actually working with First Point on, is, we want to see more schools sponsoring boys volleyball, sponsoring men's volleyball. And right now, if you were to draw up a list of the top academic schools in the country, less than 1% of the top elite academic institutions are sponsoring men's volleyball. And now losing Stanford, that's, potentially, I'm still not giving up on that, but, potentially losing Stanford cuts that even more. So if you are an elite student who wants a really top level academic experience, you may be having to settle for no volleyball and going to a Notre Dame, a Duke, a University of Chicago, something like that. But if volleyball is a fundamental piece of your experience that you want to shape your college around, and you also want to be challenged academically, there's only about 10 places for you to go. And because of that, that's, I think, why we attract so many California kids, is because there's just so few opportunities for them to go. Laverne would have been a fantastic and was a fantastic program with high academics. There just aren't as many of those types of schools that are sponsoring men's volleyball anymore. And so because of that, my job is really to just, the kids come to me, there's a good group of student athletes looking for that. And then my job is to kind of try to go out there and find the ones that haven't really thought of us yet, that maybe only have USC, Irvine, San Diego in their mind, and then maybe show them something else and see if they connect. We, my argument with, that I heard from Springfield actually was, if you're trying to win a Division III championship, you need Division I guys. So there really can't be a big line between the Division I and Division III talent that as far as what we're approaching in our recruiting. And we've been very fortunate. We've lost battles with, San Diego and Princeton and Harvard. Those are should hardly be battles. Those are elite institutions in every possible way. But we've been able to give some people some hard decisions about it because they connect to things we do at Vassar. We're also a little bit spoiled. We're probably one of the only schools that has a volleyball only facility. So that is something that not a lot of people are used to, coming to a place with no basketball hoops up, with sport court on the ground, where the volleyball nets are already up and you just have to jump in and start playing around. That almost, our alums come back and the first place they want to go, they don't want to see me. They want to go back to the gym where their blood and sweat is on the ground. And so it's been a really special environment, and I think that's fostered some of this volleyball obsessive community that we have at Vassar.
That's a really great great story to show how it's separated. You brought up something that I've always thought is pretty cool about men's volleyball at the college level is how close all the different divisions are. we've been talking to a lot of women's coaches, and there's a big divide between the very top 25 women's programs and a D3 program. I mean, they're just not even close. But I mean, I can remember having battles with UC Santa Cruz while we were at Pacific, and I mean, and even UC San Diego when they were Division II and they were still growing. There wasn't a lot of difference. So, when you travel around, are you open to playing any teams that will play you because of that? And do you like that? I mean, I don't know. Does that make, even though there's not a ton of Division I programs, does that still allow boys who are wanting to play volleyball in college, a really high level option, whether it's NAIA or Division III or Division I, II?
I'll tell you, we probably passed on still 100, 150 guys that are high academic that don't have a home in the end every year. So there's not enough academic schools. There's not enough opportunity for boys to go play. And it's the reason why club volleyball is so darn good. I lose more players probably to UC Berkeley club, to Notre Dame club, to Virginia Tech club than I do to other Division III schools. Really the Division III schools that we kind of share recruits with is very often NYU and MIT. And then beyond that, the academic difference creates kind of a gap there where we don't tend to have a lot of overlap with other schools. And then, Princeton, Harvard, San Diego, they can't take everybody. So there's going to be some elite student athletes who want that experience that are going to come knocking on the door and looking for us. And it's been very fortunate for us to be able to get them.
Yeah, and Coach, you've been at Vassar for some time now, and it's been very fun to watch. I think I've known you now for probably 4 or 5 years and seen you grow this program to national rankings. And I know Vassar's been around for a while, the volleyball program, but what would you assess where your culture is, how you've grown it? I mean, the reality is you're a top 5 program. When I first met you, it was awesome. Great energy, high volleyball IQ guy. And you said, we should be in the equation to win a national champion. Like, that is my job. And you didn't shy from it. And that's a big statement to make, especially with programs like Springfield and Santa Cruz and NYU doing what they're doing. And, NYU is not a institution to like balk at. I mean, that is a really good school. And how have you gotten into that? I mean, I just looked at the rankings recently, and you're right there, and the expectations are high, and you're ranked, I think, is it top 3?
Yeah. Well, preseason rankings, we'll see. We went 5 with number 1 Springfield, and we beat number 2 New Paltz last year. So I think that the rankings are just holding on to where things were last year, and I think we were on a good track. We'll have to see what COVID does, because a lot of teams are already practicing, and because of the high academic schools, MIT, for example, has already had their season canceled. A lot of the high academic schools, Princeton, Harvard, are kind of in a cancellation place. We are possibly, we're trying to fight to not have that happen to us. So we don't really know how, preseason rankings, maybe that'll be the only feather in our cap this year, because we don't know exactly what we're going to get to do. That means it's really going to be more important for us to refocus our players on process, on what it is that we're really here for, on maximizing our potential no matter what. It does give us some opportunity with some seniors who've had some aches and pains to maybe make sure we're putting focus on getting their bodies healthy and making sure they graduate feeling really great. And maybe they just go out and none of our graduates are ever going to come back for a 5th year. It doesn't matter how nice the NCAA is about that. That's not the model at Vassar. They just have too many lucrative jobs to move into after they graduate. So everybody is 4 and done. Both of our graduates from last year are already in their PhD and pre-med programs, and they're fully funded there, and they're not coming back for a 5th year and putting off the rest of their lives. So for us, it's going to be about helping the players just see what the value is of being with each other, of pushing each other in the gym. And, hopefully, everything works out and we are able to have a little bit of competition in the end. But I don't know, that top 5, top winning a championship can be our only priority. I think it's really important to value yourself as a championship level team, because I think it affects how you walk in the gym. It affects your self-esteem as you're going through things. It affects whether you do your off-season work and what your mindset is as you're trying to grow and develop. So I think it's really important for that, but that as a goal is less of a value for us than maximizing our potential today.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point, and I don't want to dive way into it, but like I went to Pacific, academically expensive school. As you know, there's no like men's volleyball scholarships at the D1 level. And I was not a blue chip All-American. I mean, I had an academic aid, I had some financial aid, whatever.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
which is fine. That's like 80%
money.
of us at that level. And I went because I was a teacher. I was going to become a teacher. So I was there for 5 years, which that's what teachers do. They have to get their teaching credential. And I think it's just really important for recruits or recruiter parents to hear this. Is like one of the greatest thing you just said is our kids go and they get lucrative jobs. And I'm not knocking teaching. Like teaching is so fulfilling. I'm happy as a clam, but I'll be paying student loans, which is fine. It was my choice to get to master's, but I'll be paying student loans till I'm like 45. And I had a time of my life in college. We don't have to question that, and I probably had more fun than your Vassar kids, but that is something to be said, like you have an institution that just produces jobs that you could go in and probably pay off those student loans pretty quickly and get some pretty lucrative jobs, which is, I think, really important for recruits to think about,
Yeah.
If you're not driven and focused, you're not even going to have a shot at acceptance at Vassar. So once they get in the door and get through that self-selection that already happens makes my job very easy. I mean, our team GPA was a 3.72 last year, and we've been at the top of the NCAA in team GPA almost every year that I've been here. And that is not, I do nothing to create that except point them in a direction. They're doing all the work. They have the work ethic. These are guys that are doing like math, problem sets at 8 a.m. in breakfast while we're on the road for MIT, and then still, getting that done during breakfast so that they can then do video at 9 so that we can then go and compete. And that's a very focused group. I would have been playing on my phone. I would have been playing video games. I would have been calling my girlfriend. I would have been doing something else during that time. But these guys are really, really driven.
Yeah, I mean, I heard you say the 4-year thing, and I instantly perked up. That was one reason I went to Pacific, is they had a guarantee to get your credential and get out of there in 4 years. And
it took me 5.
I mean that my wife, same thing. I mean, she chose a school because they had a faster program to get out of there for her major too. And again, I think that's something that it's refreshing to hear a coach know that that's what a lot of people want and need. I think some coaches think that, if a freshman walks in and they're not going to play right away, we just redshirt them, that they won't care. They'll be here for 5 years or 6 years, however long. It's like, well, no, we're coming here with the purpose, and really the purpose is school. So that's awesome to hear. All right. I think it's great to hear about this school. And Kevin brought up a good point about how, again, it's really grown and people are more open to traveling across the country. And, Coach Gary brought up a good point too, that a lot of really top academic institutions just don't have men's volleyball. So if you're looking for both a place to play volleyball and a top academic institution where you're going to come out with a great degree, Vassar is right there as one of those schools. So again, take a look if you're a player, if you're a parent, if you're another coach who's just looking to find out, some great information. If you're a club director, this is a place to steer some of those kids that really want both those challenges. Tomorrow we get into Coach Gary's coaching style, and he's got some great tips and techniques that he's been trying to use to grow his coaching, especially through COVID, but also just in order to try and better their team. So anyways, take a listen tomorrow on Coach Richard Gary's coaching style, and we'll keep this interview going. Hey, if you're looking for some great clothing, new logo, you need a great combination, go to onestoneapparel.com, onestoneapparel.com. They made us this awesome logo that fit better onto great polo shirt, hoodie, and they got all kinds of different materials that you can choose from. So again, check them out, onestoneapparel.com. Email Dave at onestoneapparel.com. Let him know Valuable Coaching sent you. Hey guys, if you're looking for a cool new volleyball out there, check out Holo Gear. It's holographic balls, and they got also holographic clothing. It's really cool. If you take a look here, you can see, looks black and then it kind of glows in the dark. Very awesome gear. Check them out. Use our coupon code ValuableCoachIn. That's ValuableCoachIn, and get 15% off.